Hi, good morning, everyone. We got Joe Farrell back. It's been a while, man. So welcome back, man. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
on. And we got Stan back on again, and he had some audio issues last time. So hopefully we can work this out today. So welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Joe, so what you been up to, man? Fill us in real quick, man. Where you been?
Just dealing with life stuff, man. Dealing with life stuff. I moved to a different company. The company that I was working for got bought out, so I make a move. Um, yeah, just a bunch of life stuff,
So
personal
this
stuff.
topic is kind of perfect for you then. Kind of like if
Mm-hmm.
we were starting over or starting from zero or how we start our investing journey maybe today. So yeah, so what have you guys dug up or what do you guys think about this topic?
I think it's definitely a really good topic. There's a lot of people who want to. They're just starting off. That's one of the goals I have are for people like fresh out of school, fresh out of college, at the beginning of the careers. What steps can they be taking now in order to put them into a better position 5 years from now? So I definitely think we can offer, hopefully we can offer a fair amount of good advice on this podcast.
Oh, and there she is. She's not that late. Hold on, I'm gonna let her in. Oh, it's been a while for her too.
Hi guys.
What
So
up?
hi, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right,
Sorry,
fill us
I
in real
couldn't get
quick
into
though.
my
Where have
account
you
for some
been?
reason.
Where have you been?
What?
Fill us in real quick. Fill us in real quick. Where have you been and what have you been up to?
I was in Alaska for a little while. Just totally went offline too. I had my phone, but I wasn't really using it and just was enjoying the nature and the mountains and hiking and
Nice. What part of Alaska?
I flew into Anchorage and then I went down to Homer.
Okay. Yeah, I was over that area for work about 2 years ago. Flew to Anchorage, then took a seaplane across the Kenai Peninsula. Didn't get to do any exploring. I was purely there for work, but the entire area is absolutely gorgeous.
Nice. Yeah. It is so beautiful. The mountains, like the views are just incredible. Everywhere you look, you're just like, oh my God, it's all so big.
I agree. I was hoping to
You
see
didn't
Northern
happen to
Lights while I
run
was
into
up there, but
Hyder,
I had
did you?
zero luck.
You didn't see
Did
Hyder by any chance, did you?
no Hider. Hider wasn't there. He's way out there. Um, but did you go in the summertime or the winter time?
It was October, so
Oh,
transitioning into winter. We
okay.
were getting snow already, but it was still manageable since it was still in the Anchorage area. I know if I went even higher up in latitude, it would have been much, much, much colder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
We got
beautiful.
Jack
Didn't
here. I
see
want to
Hider.
give a shout out to Jack and Jared for stopping by. So I put their YouTube channels in the links. We got Joel's channel in the link. So you guys got to subscribe to Strifer 25 to be updated on his new project he's working on. So we'll talk about that. And we also got Stan's blog in there. His Go check out his traveling blog. But yeah, so Lauren, I don't know if you were listening in real quick, but we're gonna kind of talk about maybe if you were starting over today and getting started or in your investing journey, what would you be doing? Maybe what steps would you be following? So, yeah, who wants to go first on this?
I can I can start it off.
Yeah,
So
dig
if
in,
I
man.
was starting from the very beginning, first thing I try to do is just maximize my revenue. If I can do it on the real estate side, that would be awesome. That way I can immediately get involved in the real estate business. But at the same time, like whatever, yeah, it's all about identifying your personal skills, your personal network. What can you do that's going to maximize your revenue in the best way? So if you're coming out of college and you have an engineering degree, go all in into engineering, get it like find a job and just kind of start working up the ladder. Whatever money you're making there as you're progressing up, put money aside to start buying real estate to start investing in general. But the best thing is just to figure out a way to really maximize your revenue earlier on and build up your career. Like, no matter what career you get, after a couple of years, eventually you can get to the point where you're fairly comfortable with it, where you are comfortable for your role, you are making about as much as you can, and so that's kind of the point where you can start putting more effort into other side projects like real estate. But yeah, my top goal would immediately be just to find a way to maximize and earn a comfortable living from the start.
So does that
Yeah.
mean
I
you would
just kind of
maybe like let's say you
piggybacking
were
off of
getting
that.
out of
I
high
feel like,
school?
Okay.
oh, getting out of high
Oh, go ahead.
school.
Well, I was gonna just say if you were just getting out of high school today, would you be focusing on
Mm.
income, like trying to get a job, or would you think you would be going down the college route path?
For it's very hard. Like for me personally, I'd still probably go in the college route, but I think it's very very different. It's each person has to identify what are they able to do, what is their individual skill set, what can they do best. I mean, if for example, if I was on the same level as basketball talent as LeBron James, I might not be as inclined to go to college, but let's face it, I am not LeBron James. So I need to find a way to maximize the skill set I do have at my disposal in order to find a way to maximize my own personal revenue. So I think it's a similar case to everyone. If someone is academically inclined, then pursuing college to get a marketable degree can be in their best interest. If someone is not quite as interested in academics, there's really no reason to throw away 4 years for like maybe a degree, maybe not a degree. Like college, it's not really the guaranteed progression that it was in years past. Like, you can still definitely college can give you a substantial heads up as you're entering the workplace, assuming that you have a marketable degree, assuming you did the right steps, assuming you didn't get into too much debt. But it's not the same guarantee as it was before. So if you have a plan going into college, that could be beneficial. If you're just going to kind of wander into college and spend a year or two trying to discover what you want to do, that's probably not the best use of your time or your money. Like college is expensive. That also has to be factored in. Like, do you really want to spend $30,000 per year just to wander around for a bit?
Yep.
And what about you, Joel? I mean, you have this whole stair step method that might fit in perfectly for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an interesting time with prices high, rates high. People are scared. I know people who want to buy that can buy that are not because they're waiting for election, waiting for rates or waiting for whatever. And um, 40% of homes are free and clear of a mortgage. Of the houses that have a mortgage, 59% have a rate below 4%. So there's a massive number of people who are never going to sell. And if they do move, they're probably just going to keep it as rental or put family in there. And so we've got this new dynamic. The Federal Reserve created a dynamic of the golden handcuffs with people with 2% rates, 3% rates. They're never going to sell. So housing not catching up, the new construction of residential homes not catching up. So you got this macro level trend that's happening that's unprecedented in my opinion. So what is somebody that's 25 or 22 or 18? How do they do? What do they do? Because the natural progression from this point is the couple generations, Gen Z and beyond, even younger millennials, are not going to be able to purchase homes. And we look at it from a large scale. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 36 now. It used to be 28 before COVID. So a lot of pressure on people becoming renters. And so because there's more renters out there, if you're 22 and you've got your credit built up and you've got a couple of year history of some work history and then you get a degree, you could buy a house for 200K. And I know people who are doing it. And if you get a 2-bed, 1-bath condo and you rent out the other place room, or you get a 3-bed, 2-bed house and rent out 2 rooms, there's a large subset of people that you can find to rent. And if you can cover the majority of your payment with house hacking in that regard, and that's a massive win. And we talk about this all the time on this channel, getting into the game. 150, 200, whatever, just getting in the game. It changes the way you look at finances and life and what's important. And I talk about if you can buy 4 houses in 8 years at age 25, somehow, some way, increase income, save more money, be creative, you have a 10-year head start on the average person. And the math, compounding, all that stuff matters, but it's a mindset too. And obviously it depends on what market you're in, right? I mean, if you're in California, it's much more challenging than if you're in the Midwest or Southeast. But in my opinion, massive opportunity right now because people are scared. So people who are ready to do it, they have the confidence to do it. There's a massive opportunity to get in the game.
It's definitely difficult right now because of interest rates being the highest they've been in decades. Uh, in our area, insurance is absolutely out of control at this point, and it's preventing a lot of people from being able to enter. The price of homes is still elevated in our area. It's starting to decrease, but it's still elevated above what it was pre-pandemic by a substantial margin. So there's a lot of challenges, but the house hacking strategy you said that would have been my very first advice to anyone who wants to enter real estate. If you can find a way, if you do house hacking, you get primary residence financing, which is a lot more favorable, requires smaller down payments, has better insurance rates. You get in the game, you get to learn how to manage a property, you get to build equity, and even better, you have a tenant in there that's going to be building equity for you through rental payments. So for someone beginning, that's probably the very, very first tip I'd give them is try to enter with a house hack just to get a foot in the door. RW Equity, he brings up a really good point in the chat. Joining groups, networking is absolutely crucial. So even if I was starting from the very beginning, join a local real estate investing group, join any kind of local organizations. Like the kind of networking you get in that is absolutely invaluable. Yeah, people that have been in the industry for decades, they have so much knowledge, and every single real estate group I've ever been a part of or have ever got a chance to talk with, they're always more than willing to share every last piece of knowledge they have. They're willing to help you out and give you some connections, give you referrals, point you in the direction of properties that could be good deals for you to look into. So that network is absolutely crucial to build.
We have Hugo here. Stay Winning is here. Thanks for stopping by. And he says he should be back on X within 48 hours. So
Woo!
we'll see, man. I don't know what happened, but I see you on Threads quite a bit now. So I know you're trying to do some more stuff over there. So go check him out. Go check out his YouTube channel. Um, yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of torn a little bit as far as he put something here, but I'm kind of torn like as far as like if I was getting out of high school today, what direction would I take? I think, the house hack you mentioned is a great way to start. And I think that's why I almost feel like I would lean towards getting a job and getting that income on my tax return for 2 years to really help me get into a house hack. And unless you can find someone that's going to co-sign for you, but I mean, I think that would be what I would focus on is straight out of high school, get that job, get that 2 years tax return so I can take to a lender, help me get a house hack, get started, and then like trade school or go to college. But definitely getting into a house hack, I think, puts you that much further ahead.
I think you know the idea of background and are you academic inclined, not academic inclined, and do you go to college, do you go to trade school, or go get a job? I mean, your surrounding, your family, your network, right? Like all that stuff, it does come into play because if you're 18 and someone asks you the question, okay, do you want to go to college or do you want to go, just go get a job, make 18 bucks an hour, and then save up and go buy a house and house hack? If you don't have the support system or the people behind you, either way to guide you, it's hard to make a decision like that and have confidence in it because you don't really know what you don't know, kind of a thing. And so I think you're going to kind of fall in line with the people around you more than likely. And not right or wrong. It's just that surrounding background of people is gonna have an influence. And so I think that definitely makes a difference. Getting into groups, like if you're 18, 19, going into a group, and someone tells you to go house hack, and your parents are telling you to go to college, I mean, that's going to be a battle.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's so many different pathways to really build up. You mentioned college, you mentioned trade school, and if you just get a job at fast food or Walmart, it's entry level, but you can still work your way up from there. Just because you start as a cashier doesn't mean you have to stay as a cashier. Like, get an entry level job and just start doing what you can to move your way up the corporate ladder. So there's multiple pathways as long as you have a plan. That's really the most important thing. Like, have a plan. If you want to go to college, know what degree you want, know what career you want after you graduate. And even though in those 4 years, don't focus on just your academics. focus on job fairs, focus on trying to get internships, focus on trying to get a foot in the door while you're still in college to get into that career path. During those 4 years, you have all the time in the world. Like if you already start putting the foundation in place to already have a job lined up as soon as you graduate, that's going to give you a substantial advantage, as opposed to I know many people where they didn't start applying for jobs until their very last semester in college, and by that point they have less options. They're more rightfully are fearful of it as well because they know that hey, you're a few months away from graduating, and that means a few months after that it's time to start paying back the student loans. So at that point you're don't have as much freedom to make the best choice. You just are kind of forced a lot of times you're forced into simply getting the first job available just to be able to pay back your student loans. But if you start applying, start interviewing, say sophomore year, junior year, there's a much bigger runway to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to pick something that would be better ideal for you.
I think there's a huge opportunity right now in owner financing too. And also if I think when I was like 18 or 22 and I was just starting out, I didn't really know how to leverage my network around me, like the people that I already knew. Like if you're young and you're starting out, is there anyone in your family who owns a house and uses it as a rental? Because they may be open to owner financing it to you, and you then can turn that owner finance into a house hack or find someone in the community. I mean, there are so many people that I know that kind of want to sell their house right now, but they don't want to either pay the capital gains taxes on it because it's gone up in equity so much, or they don't want to take it all at once. They just want that cash flow coming in. But they also don't really want to deal with like the renters and the headache. You know, maybe they're like already retired. There's so much opportunity to be a trusted person. And if you're really responsible and you can communicate like, hey, I know I'm young, I'm 18 or I'm 19 years old, but I am really responsible and this is my goal. I think that there is a lot of opportunity to get an owner financing situation and be that trusted renter. And that person's going to be able to make income off of you for the next 20 plus years. But you have to, I think that comes back to like going to networking groups. If you don't know how to do that, if you're like, oh, how would I owner finance? Go to your meetups and your real estate and get that knowledge because somebody there has probably done it before.
And I think even before, I know we're talking about people that are just graduating high school, but even taking a step back, even before you graduate high school, I think there's a lot of steps you can take to really put yourself in a better position. Like I've said it multiple times, I think our public education system really is horribly lacking in any kind of financial education, any kind of investing education, any kind of anything related to finance at all. I think that the public education system that I've seen in this country has horribly failed.
Yeah.
So just getting ahead of it and start reading books, start finding ways to educate yourself on financing so that you do have a substantial heads up in financial education compared to other people graduating high school. Just having that bare and basic knowledge of like what really is a credit card, what really is debt, like how can you actually leverage it, how do you start a business, how like different business systems, how do they actually work? I've never been in any class in high school or even college where they even talked about even bare basic business systems. It wasn't until I got to start taking classes from our MBA where we still actually start diving into that topic. I think simply knowing things as basic as the difference between retail and wholesaling, like stuff as basic as that, if people aren't exposed to it, they don't even know how to begin a business or how a business is operating.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. The financial education and keeping yourself from doing the things that actually set most people back. Like you're actually ahead by having zero debt and being at 18 years old. There's a lot of people that make mistakes and rack up credit card debt or buy new cars, and they have to dig themselves out of that hole before they can even save up for their first home. So I feel like when you're young, you're at like a net zero. It's actually, you're ahead of the people that have racked up that debt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
To
especially
answer
on,
RWO equity, if I was young and I was starting a business, I would 100% do a whole eBay business where I go like thrift things and sell it on eBay. But that's just me because you have to know, like, what are you into? If you're like a sneakerhead or you're into trading cards or whatever, I think it's a great way that you could utilize what your most abundant resource when you're young, which is time, and be able to go thrift things, find things for cheap, and sell them on eBay. And I would start like a store.
I actually was doing an eBay store during the pandemic, and it turned out pretty good. I was buying up trading cards during the pandemic. Trading cards were going up in value, so I was buying up a whole bunch of cards. I was probably buying them for between $5 and $10 each. I was getting them professionally graded for about $10 to $20 each. So all in, I was probably $20 to $30 per card, but they were selling on eBay for over 100 plus per card during that. So it was just, I, it was a nice way to get a little extra revenue, especially when I was stuck in the house with nothing to do during the pandemic.
Yeah. And when
I
you're
would
young,
start the
that's
next
so much money.
Crocs. I would find out to come up with the next Croc. You know, I saw somebody post the reason Crocs have holes in them is to let your dignity out. I was pissed.
So accurate.
What do you mean? Yeah. Well, anyway, where did it go? I did want to touch on Jack's. And this is actually a really great point, right? Because we're talking about like housing or real estate and what we would do, but realistically, I mean, we're like 10, 20 years since graduating high school in a sense, right? I mean, we weren't thinking about those things back then also, right? So it's kind of like right now we're sitting back talking about like, yeah, I would do this, I would do that. And it's like, actually at that time we're like trying to just figure out where's the next party we're gonna go to or what we're gonna have fun, right? So I think that's super important to remember. Like if I was, just like I said, just getting out of high school, I think it's really like we're talking about same thing. We go back to who you're surrounding yourself with, or even just having like a mentor at that age, right? Seeing someone ahead of you, what they're doing. But also like, just understanding the power of house hacking or getting into the trades or doing something that a skill set that you can have with you for life. So I think that's a great perspective from Jack, what he commented about.
Yeah, I agree.
You-
I do think that's where like the eBay stores and stuff could come in handy because at that age you don't care about houses, but I think you do care about like kind of cool things and like collector things, or like if you're a girl, you care about like clothes, and you could go to the thrift store and find the brands that are cool and popular and that are going to sell. So I think you can use that like youth and the cool factor of being young to work in your benefit and just start learning about like financial education and how to make money that isn't connected directly to you working a certain number of hours.
I mean, you say eBay, but like it's Amazon, it's
Yeah.
TikTok Shop now. Like there's so many more options out there in that world of online arbitrage. And
Yes.
I'm seeing people do it, of all ages, really. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I'm using eBay as an overarching for all of those things. I mean, there's a million.
For us,
TikTok
our
Shop probably
boomer audience to understand it.
What?
For our boomer audience to understand it.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely you put up a really good point. I mean, I remember when I was just graduating high school, it's just like you said, the last thing I had on my mind was buying a house. The last thing I had on my mind was learning about financing. I entered college. I mean, I focused completely on my education, so I definitely did not do all the stuff that I'm advising now. I did well in my classes. I got good grades. I got a decent job after college. But during college itself, it's like I was either in class or I was out socializing. So I was joining some clubs, but it was clubs I was enjoying. Like I joined the rugby team, I joined the fraternity. I wasn't really joining anything that was like Future Business Owners of America, or I wasn't doing anything to really educate myself more on college. And by the time I graduated, I had a lot of debt. Like I graduated in 2004, and I racked up just shy of $70,000 in student loan debt. At the time, that was definitely pretty far up there. And as far as total debt, I was able to pay it off within 5 years. So I was able to dig myself out of the hole. But if I
You paid it off in 5 years?
Yeah.
How much?
70,000.
How many houses could you have house hacked with that 70,000?
I could have house hacked quite a few houses if I had that 70,000.
That's another conversation, right? Like,
So I agree. There was a lot of stuff I would have done different. When I moved from college down to Louisiana, my first apartment, it was definitely a much nicer apartment than I could afford it, but it was definitely, I could have easily downgraded a little bit and gone for cheaper. I could have house hacked, like you said, instead of renting for 5 years. I could have avoided taking off that kind of debt to begin with in college. So there was a lot of things I could have done different that probably would have put me further ahead now. But that's why I'm kind of one of the reasons I'm doing these kind of podcasts is, okay, I've learned my lessons. Now let's see if I can kind of convince other people to not make the same mistakes I've made.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a niece who's going into her senior year. And, you know, when I think about the things that she like cares about, really the goal is to just get her to understand like spending and not wanting to spend all your money on acquiring stuff, you know, like clothes and makeup and shoes. And if you're a boy, I don't know, maybe it's like sneakers and
Video
but
games.
video games. Yeah. And it's like at that age, you just have to learn how to like control your impulses. Like that's what you should be focusing on. Like control your impulses and don't just impulse buy everything, and just see if you can save up a little bit of money and not buy things that you don't need.
but that's one of the things that I talk about, right? You know, our mind is a series of zeros and ones. You know, you can only think about one thing at a time. And so when you're bored, you go buy stuff. When you're bored, you go to a party. Like if you're filling it with creating something, whether it be a side hustle or a eBay or whatever, and you get a group of people that are, you know, your friends that are, okay, we're gonna do this together. You do this thing, I'll do that thing. We'll share ideas. Like having a little bit of a niche group that's trying to build something is so valuable, especially at that age.
Yeah. And that just like continues to echo through age, I feel like, because I have friends that are still struggling with that. They're still using their credit cards irresponsibly. They're still going shopping when they shouldn't be and going out to expensive dinners, and they still don't own a house. And it's directly correlated to the fact that they cannot get a handle on their impulse spending.
During the early years, one of the things that always got me in trouble for impulse spending, I was spending 2-3 weeks at a time offshore on rigs. A lot of times there was not much going on, so Amazon became a good friend. So 2 or 3 weeks working offshore, then I finally get back home, and there's just like a pile of boxes in front of my door, and I'm sitting there going, what did I order? I don't remember any of this. It's like there's a lot of impulse spending. And Troy, he was asking how I paid off that debt in 5 years. When I first got the job, it was entry level, but it was still it was average pay at the time. So it was nothing special, but it was enough. But I spent the next couple of years just working my way up the corporate ladder. My first responsibilities when I first showed up was I was given a cloth bag and a metal spoon. My job was to go to one part of the rig and scoop a few rocks with that spoon into the bag, and then bring it back to where it needs to go. So it was about as entry level as possible. Like very little responsibility, very hard to mess up, but it was a way for me to get my foot in the door. And then I just progressively kept moving my way up in the company. And each time I moved up in the company, I was putting a lot of work. Like I had no social life then. It was just 5 years of working my way up. But every single time I worked my way up and I got a additional pay increase, I never adjusted my lifestyle. It's, oh, now I'm making an extra $20,000 a year. That extra $20,000 went right into my student loans to pay that off. didn't get a nicer house. I didn't buy a nicer car. Like I'm literally still driving the same 2004 Subaru Impreza that I bought right out of college 15 years ago. It still works, so I'm not complaining about it. But that was one of the things I tried to avoid. Is I tried to avoid lifestyle creep as much as I could. And every single time I got additional money, it was just all going towards paying off debt at the time.
So Lauren, Trade Better asks if you will flip horses, or would you flip horses?
I don't think I have the skills to flip horses. You have to like train them and make them better. I don't think I could do that.
Or you could start your tortoise catching business.
That's right. I mean, that's the other thing. When you're young, there's all these random little side hustles that you can get into and that you're able to do. When you're young, you have lots of energy and you're fine being outside and you're strong. Like take advantage of that and get some sort of like physical job that will keep you active and give you, sometimes they pay a little better than the like entry level retail or something like that.
That is one advantage that people do have nowadays. People always kind of point back, oh, you had all these advantages from 20 years ago, like housing prices were cheaper, interests were cheaper. But at the same time, there's so many opportunities that are overlooked now because we've become so accustomed to it. We don't realize how big advantage they are. Things like being able to create your own social media channel and then monetize that. That didn't exist 20 years ago. eBay was around, but it wasn't what it was now 20 years ago. Just the power of the internet, power of social media. There's been so many new avenues that opened up with that can produce side hustles or can produce additional revenue. And the information is out there so much more prevalent. Just the existence of YouTube channels that actually can teach people how to get into like these various side hustles is such an advantage now that we didn't have 20 years ago. 20 years ago, like I can't even think of where I could have gone to learn about business. Like I'd have to probably go to the local library and start hoping I find a good book. And for the younger kids, library is a big building that they used to store a lot of books in. You can go there and actually take them for free.
Yeah.
But you have to bring them back.
Jen, thanks for stopping by. We got to get you back on. You're a hit when you were on last with the couples one. But she says, such a good conversation. Should have, could have, would have. Have so many regrets. And she's been working on a time machine. She said that she hasn't been successful. But yeah, I mean, we're all there, right? We're all kind of like looking back at what we do differently. But I think that's like, I think Lauren, you were kind of touching on it. And I forgot where I saw it, but it's kind of a quote about like, the young wolf has to take care of the old one day because the old wolf won't have that energy or have that same fire, right? So it's kind of like when you're younger, you have all this energy and you have time on your hand in a sense, right? So take advantage of that at that time so you have a better future, right?
Yeah.
Not only energy, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, can you answer her question? Like, how did you get over like the fear or the regret? I
have a short memory. I do. I mean, I just move on to the next thing. That's just how I am. So yes, I am.
For me, getting over that, it's purely about focusing on the future. It's like, yeah, I could sit here and go, wow, it would have been nice if I had that $70,000 back so I can purchase additional real estate. Or I could focus it instead, have the mindset of, okay, I'm here now. What can I do to make sure I have that $70,000 available to me in 5 years from now? Like, learn from the mistakes I did in the past and then focus on what I can do to not repeat the same mistakes and kind of get to the point where I'm better off in the future. Having that future mentality, I think, is absolutely crucial, where you need to have a plan in your head, know what you want to do, what you want to accomplish in the 5 to 10 year from now mark, and just make the steps you need to get to that point. Like, no matter what, 5 or 10 years is going to pass. Like, we have no ability to stop time. 10 years will pass. It's just a matter of where do you want to be 10 years from now. If you want to be in the same spot you are now, then yeah, just keep doing the same habits, keep doing the same day-to-day activities you are now. If you're not happy where you are now, change up your habits, change up your activities, and in 10 years, you will likely be in a much different spot than you are right now.
Yeah, I don't know how old, Jen, you are, but I think the best way to get over regret is to hang out with people who are older than you are and
I
realize
feel
that
insulted now.
what,
I feel insulted now. Is that why you come on these
hanging out with
things?
these old fogies, I feel young. No, I mean people in their like 60s and 70s.
Joel, you okay?
Joel, Joel looks pissed.
I was waiting for it.
No, I just mean in their like elderly people, because I think you can spend time, I spend time with my mom's friends and they're in their like mid 60s and they're like, wow, I wish I had done what you did, because I have no retirement plan or something. So I think hanging out with people that are like 20 years older than you can make you realize like, oh, I really have a lot of time, because I think we feel old whenever we get to whatever age we are. It's the oldest we've ever been. So inevitably people are just getting younger and you just feel older all the time. And I think it's important to realize like if you're 45 and you live to be 85, you still have a long life ahead of you. And what are you going to do with that time, and not spend too much time looking back on what you could have done and just say, what am I going to do in these next 10 years to make sure that I can enjoy the 30 after them.
I definitely agree with that. Talking to people that are older is a huge, huge benefit. I mean, think about it this way for a different perspective. Imagine you get to talk to a 20-year younger version of yourself. Like, I remember what I was like 20 years ago, and it was not a pretty picture. So I know that there's a lot I've learned in the last 20 years. And back then, 20 years ago, I thought I knew it all. Clearly, I was mistaken. So there's always more you can learn from people with experience. The trick, I think, is just to identify a person who is currently where you want to get to, and then learn from them. If you want to own your own business, find someone that is older that does have their own business, and start emulating their habits. Learn from them. Like, if they've accomplished it, they can show you how to also accomplish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's up, Sam? Thanks for stopping by Wealthwood Rentals. He also has a started and growing YouTube channel, so go check it out. His links in the comments. Kobe's also here from EXP. And Joel, he said thanks for following him. I talked to him the other day. He said he noticed that you followed him on social media, so that's cool. But yeah, you're talking about 20 years ago. I mean, shoots, man. I mean, mine was like, if you can't go to work hungover, you're not doing it right. Like, I mean, that seriously, that was my, that was a testament to, how well you were doing, right? You have to be able to live that lifestyle, and going to work hungover and being able to do your job was like a trophy, right? Like, actually, I could do this, and definitely wasted a lot of time, wasted a lot of money, but like I said, like, short memory, right? Move on and improve, and hopefully help other people get started, right? And hope other people put them on this path. But I know you folks don't follow Dion Financial Talk as much as I do in some of the community, but he always comes up with these Dionisms, and he looks at things differently. So what do you guys think about this? So he says you have two financial lives, and the second one starts when you realize you have one financial life.
I've heard a similar quote. It
I have
wasn't
no idea what that means.
but it was
What are the two financial lives you're talking about?
I love a good paradox.
Like, I got my main piece and my side piece. Is that what we're talking about?
Well,
yeah,
do you want to try to explain?
Yeah. In a relationship too, like, it was just a general quote of you only have two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one. Essentially, what that's trying to say is most people, they always think they have more time. Like, oh, I can start a business later. I can buy a house later. I can travel later. They're always kind of putting it off for down the line. And eventually they get to the point where they realize, oh, I actually don't have unlimited amount of time. if I don't start doing the stuff I want now, eventually I do run out of time. And once that realization clicks in, then they actually start prioritizing, okay, well, I really want to travel. I better do it now because it's not going to get easier later. I really need to build this business now because it's not going to get easier later. So that's essentially what that quote's trying to go for, where it's people finally starting to live their lives when they realize that time is not unlimited, that they need to either do it now or come to peace with the fact that they're never going to accomplish certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Makes
It's so
sense,
hard
Joe.
to talk is cheap, right? Like I know
Yeah.
for me personally, it's like I've had to just either accidentally get into a tough situation or just jump into the deep end and just figure it out. And like by doing that, you learn so much and learn what to do, what not to do, and like how valuable time is. And having kids also is kind of a part of that too. But I don't know. Just it's easy to say, but hard to do, in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, talking about time and everything, so Trey Better has a question. Would you say the younger generation now has the benefit of pivoting plans faster?
Mm.
That's a tough question. There's
How?
definitely advantage that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're young, you can pivot faster because you kind of are just like, there's no one relying on you. Like, you don't have kids, you don't have a mortgage payment, you have like more freedom. So I feel like when you're young, you can pivot and do a lot of different things. But I don't know if it has to do with generational or if it's just an aspect of having low responsibility.
I think there's definitely some aspects that do make it easier to pivot because I think that right now the younger generation has much more information available to them than we had 20 years ago. I keep going back to it, but like YouTube is absolutely invaluable. At this point, you can probably get the equivalent education of an MBA just from watching YouTube videos, and that's not a advantage that we had back in the 1990s or 2000s. So I think back then you kind of, like, I know personally, I definitely felt very, very shoehorned in the education system where it was okay. Here's the class you need to do in high school. Once you complete high school, it's like shoehorn your way into college, and then you just learn what college is willing to teach you, and then you kind of shoehorn your way into the next career step. Like there was never really other branches taught. Those branches they're still not taught in high school or college, but at least there are these additional sources where you can learn, like complement your education with YouTube, with things like Instagram, with various kinds of social media platforms, with the internet in general, that gives you the knowledge of these other paths that you can go into or what you can do to make pivots if you want to pivot. So I think that is one advantage that is very, very invaluable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did forget though. I mean, I just remembered because Sam Wealthwood Rentals mentioned he had some paid time off to catch the live, and I sorry I didn't see your. I mean, I saw your post, Sam, but congratulations. I'm not sure if you had a boy or girl, but congratulations, man, and take some time off and relax. But glad you got to stop by. Oh yeah, Kobe, 85 Bears. He's from Chicago, so that's like the best team ever in football.
99 Rams. Best team.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Get out of here. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you guys want to dig into? I mean, before was there any other questions? Did I skip? Oh, I did skip over.
I have a couple things I want to throw out there.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, man.
There are a couple comments about trades and, with technology, AI, all the, like a lot of jobs are going to be, replaced by certain technologies. And one thing that's never going to go away is those trades, HVAC, roofing, all that stuff. So, I mean, I think those jobs they're making more money today than they were 10 years ago. And so,
Yeah.
I know people that are making good money that are saving and that are, looking to be able to build real estate. Another lane, I know some people that are in the IT world that have a full-time job and maybe even a second full-time job or a part-time job that's close. And so they're just stockpiling cash and then buying. And I use the word free agent. If you work remotely, you can purchase a home anywhere and call it a primary residence as long as it makes sense. And so I know some people that are doing that. They're looking to find the highest, fastest growing cities in the country, like places in Texas or North Carolina, the Southeast, whatever. Ohio, I think there's a couple ones in Ohio. And those cities that are growing fast, that means that there's people coming. That means strong demand. That means that you get in today, values hopefully will be higher in 5-10 years. You just keep scaling. And so I've got a client right now that just bought his 4th house in 4 years. Not IT, but he's got a full-time job, does some real estate on the side, a realtor on the side, has a photography company, and just house hacking, and just finding that value out there in the marketplace.
Oh wait, I forgot. So Troy Roberts is here. Thanks for stopping by. But Joe, that's someone you should maybe reach out to, or Troy, reach out to Joe. Joe's in St. Louis. I don't know.
Where's Troy?
He's in Kansas City, I believe.
Okay.
Not sure, yeah, exactly where, but
Cool.
he says his wife and I bought our first house 2015 for 198K. In 2019, we sold it for 485. Wow. We paid off 70K in student loan debt, 40K credit card, medical and autos. The power of buying a home is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last couple of years, real estate has really, really taken off in terms of price, and I think that is a very, very substantial obstacle. I know there's still people saying that there is going to be a price correction. I personally still don't see a price correction, not to the level that people are hoping for, at least. It's as much people want to say that housing right now is overvalued. I think that's the incorrect perspective. It's not that the house is increasing in value that much. It's that the money we have has lost that much value. Like inflation has absolutely whittled away at the purchasing power of the dollar. So it's not that your house may not be worth twice as much. It's just a case of your money's worth half as much. So the price that we're looking now in housing, that is current fair market value. As bad as it is, unfortunately, wages have not been able to keep up. They have not gone up with inflation as much as housing prices. But based on construction is still not where it needs to be. There's still a very large imbalance in needs versus wants. Like there's still a very large imbalance between people who want to buy and people who are willing to sell. So until construction is able to add more to the market, or until there's some kind of supply of housing that comes from somewhere to balance out that imbalance, then I just can't see a substantial drop in market value of housing, at least not on a national level. In some regions that have been overdeveloped in the last couple of years, then maybe, but I just don't see a nationwide housing price correction.
Yeah, I put a post out a couple of days ago, kind of talking about that same thing about the median housing stuff. Like when I bought my first house in 2009, the median, I didn't realize it, but I bought a house for 230, and the median house price was 220. The median income was, I think, 64,000. And then fast forward 15 years later, housing prices have doubled essentially, and the median income is like 74,000. It's like gone up by 15%, 20%. So that's just a massive disconnect there in terms of affordability.
Yeah.
Yeah. But another thing you kind of touched on earlier too is remote work is new or different, right? So now people that can make a lot of money from their job can live anywhere now, right? So they can live in these maybe bigger homes in a different community outside of the city in a sense, right? So they're also keeping prices a little bit higher maybe in these smaller communities in a sense, because they're taking their higher income, but they're working remotely, and now they have this mansion somewhat, I guess, in a sense, right? So that's another thing that's different or new to this housing market.
I think
But
that's
yeah, go
actually
ahead.
a very good aspect for a huge advantage that people have right now is the ability to remote work. Uh, 10, 20 years ago, if you wanted to live in, like work in IT, you had to live and work in Silicon Valley. Now you can still work in Silicon Valley, but you can live in some place where has a much lower housing prices. So it's a concept called geo arbitrage, where you find a place where you can still make the same kind of revenue, but you take it to some place where that revenue can stretch much, much further. Yeah, you can do it in the United States, or you can get even more creative. I've met other people that they geo arbitrage all over the world, where they take like they still retain their work in the United States, they still get paid in U.S. dollars, but they're living in Colombia, they're living in Peru, they're living in Brazil. And personally, like I just took a trip to Peru. Like Peru is gorgeous. Like I had an amazing time when I was there. Got to see Cusco, got to see Machu Picchu. Like it's a beautiful area. The food is amazing, but the cost of living, it's if you can go down there with dollars, those dollars stretch much further. Like anything, like if I'm here in New Orleans, I go out to dinner. If I want a good dinner, I'm probably looking at $40 or $60 a plate just for me, and that's not for even top end. I can easily spend more than that if I want to. But down in Peru, I was going out to the best restaurants I could possibly find. My bill never came past $20, including drinks, including tips. Like just that geo arbitrage, the power to stretch that dollar is a huge advantage that we have now, like purely because of remote work.
Yeah.
Well, this next question was for Joel, but I don't know where he went. But talking about rates, and I just saw Lance Lambert posted something about an hour ago saying that he saw rates at 6.6, I guess. So it's come down. So it's almost at a low for 2024. So looks like rates are softening a little bit. But wealth with rentals.
Sorry, guys, I'm back.
Are you able to someone?
Yeah. I mean, like in a lot of in certain markets, you have some flexibility with sellers providing some concessions towards closing costs or price and whatnot. And so, a lot of first-time home buyers that I'm seeing we're doing FHA, and right in this moment, we're getting rates under 6 with a little over a point, maybe 2 points depending on the credit scores. So rates in the upper fives, literally right now is achievable. And I posted this, I think maybe yesterday, that like I talked to somebody and they heard that and they got excited about a rate under 6, and somebody else said they were still going to wait. So I don't know what the effect is on rates, but it's definitely lower right now than it was in the last 5. We haven't been this low since basically January in terms of where rates are.
Lance Lambert tweeted, we're close to a 52-week low.
I'm definitely hoping those lower rents, lower interest rates, hopefully keep going back down, because it's a kind of double-edged sword. On one hand, yeah, if you lower rates, that is going to help with affordability, with individual mortgage payments. At the same time, you start lowering rates too much too quickly, you're going to have more people entering the market, so you're going to increase demand. So maybe if you have lower mortgage, that's going to be offset by the fact that housing prices may start increasing again. It's still supply and demand. You lower rates, you add more demand to the market. That's going to have upward pressure on pricing. So it's very hard to predict what is going to happen. Essentially, you need a crystal ball. And the last time I tried developing a crystal ball, that's about as effective as trying to develop a time machine.
Wealth with Rentals says, how is rent in your various markets doing, softening or increasing?
In Ocala, they're holding steady. They're they're pretty high for, I feel like, this area. People almost pay as much in rent here for like a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment as they would pay for a mortgage on a house. But you get all the amenities. So it's a trade-off.
My market's softening a little bit, but for the most part, it's holding steady as well. There was a lot of rent that really spiked up during the pandemic, and the year or so post-pandemic, it really shot up, and now it's kind of at the holding steady, maybe trickling down a little bit, but for the most part, holding steady.
What about you, Joe?
I'm sorry, man. I did not hear the question.
Oh, what you mean on the screen? No, it's how is rent in your various markets doing, softening or increasing?
It's still increasing.
Really?
In St. Louis, yeah. I mean, it's not like a lot, but it's still on the rise.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is pretty flat right now. I would say, rents went up really quickly, right? So it's kind of softened a little bit right now. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
I think there has been increased construction in like one of the markets I'm in, Lafayette, Louisiana. There have been a few new apartment complexes that have been built in the last 2 3 years, so that's helped with the rental price there, where it's provided a little bit of more of a cushion and more relief by adding more supply to the market. In New Orleans, there's just it depends on like at that point it's like a neighborhood to neighborhood like issue where in some areas there's no space to build more houses, so there's no way to add additional supply to the market. So in those areas that still have high demand and no way to put more supply to the market, then I'm still seeing substantial like growing rent in those specific neighborhoods. In other neighborhoods where the demand's starting to go down a little bit, it's more of a softening rent.
Yeah, I think, like you're talking about building, and the market just got really saturated really quickly in Pittsburgh. So right now, yeah, rents are pretty flat. So it's almost like, just trying to hold on to your tenant is probably a, is a better idea than trying to, get $50 more a month or whatnot, right? So
If you have good
avoiding
tenants,
those
I always
turnover.
encourage to hold on to tenants.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm just going to increase it $25 or $50, and you're not really paying attention to what's going on to other rentals or other areas, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's always a good idea to try if you know that the market rate's going up, kind of increase a little bit each year. Like it's better to do a $25 $50 increase per year rather than trying to do like a 300 increase all at once because you're trying to speed up to market price, because that's not going to be effective for you. It's not really fair for the tenants. It's a lot easier to swallow 20 to 25, like 25 $50 at a time per year increase than having that giant sudden wall up after 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
see,
Uh,
it's just
yeah,
yeah,
Trey
just
Better
feeling
99. He was asking if I looked into student housing in Lafayette. I don't do student housing in Lafayette just because the properties we own there aren't really close enough to University of Lafayette to do student housing. However, I am doing student housing here in New Orleans. The house I'm in, we're very, very close to both Loyola and Tulane. So the majority of our long-term tenants have been students that go to those colleges. And for me personally, student housing has worked out exceptionally great. I think I've got a little more advantage on my part because I'm like Tulane. It's primarily pre-law. It's primarily like law students, graduate students. So they're older. They're purely focused on academics. They're very well behaved. They take care of the property. So I think I'd have a different opinion if I'm say renting out to undergraduates who want to have parties all the time, like I did back in the day. Like I was a horrible tenant when I was in college. I'll flat admit it. I was a very, very, very bad tenant. So luckily, I haven't had anyone quite like me that I've had to rent out to so far. But student housing has been a good source of steady tenants coming in.
It's a perfect example of like your network also for like college students. Like reach out to your landlord. Obviously, they have properties. Like your students, if they were interested in real estate investing, could be like, man, I don't know anyone who does it or who could mentor me. And you're a perfect example of that. Like, your student tenants could be reaching out to you.
That's funny you mentioned that. One of my friends, when he was in college, I mean, they were in Oregon, I believe, but anyways, they had like 10 people living in one house, and then I guess they had to move, or some guys were moving out, so he had to move to a different house because they didn't have the same amount of people paying rent. And he went to the next location, and the same landlord came to pick up his rent, and he was just like, "What the hell? This guy has all." So, and that's what put him on the path to like kind of. I guess he started talking to the landlord, and realizing that yeah, this guy was doing this, to better his financial future. But like you're saying, right? Hopefully, just being a landlord too, you can help others. And oh, there he is. Hyder's back, everyone. So he's back from Alaska. We missed him. joining in on all the lives and helping. So welcome back, man.
Hi there. I just got back from Alaska. You missed it. I didn't see you there. I looked all over Homer.
And now I want to go back to Alaska.
Let's see. Jen says going to meetups are important. You don't know who you'll meet. A mentor, a partner, so many possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Those
what
are
I
not
strongly
easy.
agree with. It's so much easier to find networking meetups now. Like, yeah, websites like meetup.com, Facebook groups, Facebook events. Like, there's so many places to just market and find people with similar interests that you can go meet up and learn from one another.
OnlyFans. I mean, no, but even like Zoom calls, right? There's so much more opportunities to connect with different people in different areas. So yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Joel, talking about starting over and what you would do, but you keep tagging me in all these reels and posts you're putting out there. So
Am
what
I
is this
am
new
I tagging
project
you?
you're working
Oh,
on? And please explain it to me a little bit better. Like what are you coming out with?
yeah. I mean, long story short, right? Like about 7 years ago, this idea of putting out content or putting out something to be able to help somebody, the next generation or whatever, because I felt like from where I was in my seat over maybe 10 years, I was able to scale and build a portfolio just from the ground up. I didn't have a mentor, just kind of just figured it out on my own. And what can I pass on to the people below me? And at that time, it's like, okay, yeah, real estate is a tool, saving money, automating savings, focusing on the process, focusing on the vision, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I felt like the project was hollow. I didn't feel like I had enough substance to be able to back what I wanted to be able to do with it. And then fast forward a few years, and I started this podcast, and I started more social media, and I started seeing this whole new creator world of people doing things to generate income, whether it be affiliate marketing or building a brand or drop shipping or eBay or rescuing tortoises or copywriting, all these different things. I'm like, okay, if I could tell my 25-year-old self something, what I did to be able to generate more savings was I worked more because I was in a commission job. I just worked more, and I was able to save money because of that. Not everybody is in that kind of a job. So fast forward to this project, it's okay. What can the everyday person do to be able to generate more income? So we're chronicling 100 stories of different niches and side businesses and side hustles of ways that people are generating more income. And then we're asking each of the guests to provide a 1 or 2 page guide to help somebody provide that kind of blueprint. And then we're going to be housing these guides in a school community, and it's going to be free. I mean, we want this to be a place where people can just get in there, learn, get the basics going, share ideas. And, there's a ton of creators out there that are going to charge money for their course to, get you to the higher level of whatever it may be. But this is just to get somebody, wherever they may be, to get jump started on a path and focusing on generating more income.
All right, so I put your YouTube channel in here. Is that where they're supposed to subscribe?
That's one place. And then those who want to be able to get into the school community, I'll be releasing that soon.
Okay, cool. I put Hyder's channel in there, so he's been gone for a while, so he's kind of momentum has slowed down a little bit. So let's go subscribe and get that picked up again. But welcome back, Hyder. Hope to see you in Vegas. The tickets came out for sale for the ORAD. Oh yeah, Lauren, I think the tickets to the public came out for the ORAD
Oh,
event.
okay.
Yeah. So Joel, Stan,
So
Are you
see
going to
you guys
go,
there.
Joel? Are you going, Stan?
I'm definitely going.
Yeah, I won't be able to go this year right now. I got a lot of other trips that I've got lined up. I'm heading over back to Lafayette, teach a class in September. And then October, I'm flying over to Japan and Nepal. So I'm going to spend a couple weeks hiking through the Himalayas.
Ooh,
So like the rest of my year this year is kind of more or less booked up.
This
Yeah.
is in February, right?
I think
Yeah,
it's in February.
February.
Yeah.
President's Day
that's-
weekend.
Yeah.
Just make
For
it a
us,
Valentine's
February
Day trip. It's Valentine's Day weekend
Valentine's.
that weekend. So make it a
Okay.
Valentine's in Vegas.
For us, February is Mardi Gras for us. So that's
Oh.
by far the biggest. Like that's our busy season. The Airbnb we have, it's already completely booked up for all of February. I'm looking forward to, like, in New Orleans. We got lucky this year. 2025 we got lucky. We have the Sugar Bowl. Right after Sugar Bowl, we have the Super Bowl here in New Orleans. Right after Super Bowl, we have Mardi Gras. So it's just like we were getting booking after booking after booking the entire February. So
Wow.
it's gonna be a fun time in the city. I'm looking forward to every aspect of it, like being here in person for all these like fun events.
Nice. Well, I'll see you there, Joel. I'm definitely gonna go. Is Sierra gonna go? Do you know?
No comment.
Oh.
I don't know. You gotta ask her.
Okay.
I know she's planning on it, but I'm not sure what her plans are.
Okay.
Yeah, you
I
can.
just need to know if I should get her the roller skate Crocs to roll around in.
Ooh. Well, I'm sure someone else can wear it. If not, Joel, you better have your Crocs ready for Vegas.
By that time, I think I'll be rolling out some Stripe 25 Crocs.
Ooh.
Custom.
Well, I know Sierra is working on gibbets because we've been talking about Crocs so much. She is supposed to have some gibbets or for us to check out, so we'll see how that comes out. But
Gosh,
yeah,
everybody's traveling. Hyder's going to Turkey and with George.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be fun.
oh wow, is that for Hyder? Is that for a speaking? Is George Gammon speaking there, or he's just traveling, vacationing? Probably both, so you can write it off.
I'm sure 5 weeks there should be some time to see the country while you're there, if you are going on a business trip. Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh no, 5 weeks away. Yeah.
Oh, whoops. Sorry about that.
Oh, Hyder, how's your event plan coming up for Gary, Indiana? I know you're working on something that you're trying to set up out there. Is that all up and running, ready to go? If you're still there, you can put something in the chat. But yeah, I love doing all. I'm glad got Lauren back on. Joel, is you gonna be on regular again, or
Mhm.
you missing?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. My personal
man.
stuff, I think I'm, at least for now, kind of through some stuff.
So you have one email now. Now that's the email for me to use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I was like, you have like 4 emails. I'm like, no, I don't know which one to send it to. And at one time I sent one to you, and your ex-boss or your boss replied back. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not
That
showing.
was the other time.
What? Who's responding to your email?
I mean, I've been at 4 companies in like 4 months, technically, because I was at Fairway for 7 years, and then I moved to a small company. Then 3 weeks ago, they got bought out by another big company, which I don't know about. So then I moved to another company that I know. So I technically 4 in like 4 months.
I know. You're literally on a live, and you're like, we just got bought out.
That's right.
You messaged me in the chat. I gotta go. We just got bought out.
I forgot about
Okay.
that. Oh my god, yeah.
So his stuff has been delayed. Okay. Hyder was putting together something and been delayed. Looking at November now. Okay. Cool. I'm sure it'll be great, man. Trade better. Can't wait to meet everyone in Vegas. Yep.
So
One of these days, I'm definitely gonna try heading over to Vegas for that.
Well, he's
It
going to
always-
try and expand also. So he's going to try and have in other areas.
Okay.
Hopefully, that's the plan.
Is it always in February?
For the Vegas one, it's going to be. So I
Okay.
think he might be trying to set up one. What I think he likes is he likes having it kind of that same weekend, same venue, so that it's structured. He kind of knows how it's going to be set up, So.
If he's looking for different venues, I will say New Orleans is as fun as Vegas.
Oh, I mean, he probably would if you're willing to do all the work. I mean, as far as plan it, like get the, figure out and, because he mentioned Hawaii, or I mentioned Hawaii, and he's like, oh, where would be a good place? And I'm like, oh, shit.
yeah,
Yeah, put too much stuff on my plate. I'm like, ooh,
Mark's
shouldn't
doing a
have
good
done
job.
that.
I agree. Hawaii would be a lot of fun too.
It would. But yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, like how it would work. Because right now, so like Vegas, it's 2 days, right? I mean, the speakers, it's like Saturday and Sunday or whatever. So it's kind of like, if you come to Hawaii, most people want to do stuff during the day. I would think, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work out. Whereas I mean, that would just be on everyone else to plan their schedule like around the event, right?
No one's gonna show up to watch
Yeah,
this.
that's
They're gonna be
why.
like, "We're in Hawaii. We're not gonna go sit in a conference
Yeah.
room."
So
Can we
I'm
do a
trying
conference room on the beach?
to.
Just set up a couple of tents
A
on the
lot of
beach.
people. It's like, I think how many people go to this event?
I think last year was 300, so it opened up a little bit
Okay.
more this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
So a very big beach.
I
Yeah.
don't. It's really far too from the East Coast to go to Hawaii for a 2-day event.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another
Mhm.
thing. So, yeah, Joel. But at least you're invited. Throw that out there again.
That's kind of an advantage for Vegas, where it's
I
at
got
least
receipts,
central,
bro.
so you can
Receipts.
get there pretty easily from just about anywhere in the country.
Yeah, Orlando's a good place. A lot of conferences are in Orlando.
Or Miami, also like a very nice spot.
Speaking of eBay, I got a couple Amazon people that like are like high up in like success, and they have groups and whatnot, and talking about potentially doing a workshop at my Destin house.
Oh, cool.
So,
Never seen that place yet.
Where in St. Louis?
no, at the Florida Destin rental.
Oh, okay.
Where he had the other big event.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's good.
That's right. Now I remember. I blocked it out.
Yeah,
But
I
if
just got
that
done.
works out, like I might be able to do some more cool stuff down the road.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I gotta be better with putting my Amazon link out there. I'm so bad at that. So, with that being said, here's my Baselane. Go check out Baselane, everyone. If you need any software for landlord banking type needs,
Get out your
Baselane is
phone.
awesome.
Get that
Yeah, no,
QR
Baselane
code.
it's free. You can separate
QR
all your account. It's like bookkeeping. But yeah, go check it
Oh
out,
no.
everyone.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. It's
I need to do
awesome.
that once I build my portfolio back up.
Well, true.
How about an event over in Pittsburgh?
What happened to my?
I haven't
screen?
been back there since I graduated.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, same thing. You willing to set it up? But I mean, I can't go
I gotta
plan
go.
an event and that'd be my first time showing up there. All right, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I got a sick kiddo at the house. I gotta go take care of
Oh,
it.
all right, man.
Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow, Joel.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
What? What's going on?
What are we talking about?
Your side hustle,
Okay.
Mark.
Okay.
You never responded. I've been trying to
To
nail
what?
it down for like 3 months.
What do you
For
mean
what?
I never responded?
No, Mark.
Oh.
For what?
Stan's already done it. We already did his interview on the.
I know. I saw his picture on that post you made, and had everyone. I saw Sierra. I saw. Well, I don't know. Well, Lauren didn't.
You're-
Lauren didn't do it yet.
I-
So I didn't see her picture.
No, hers is up there. And
Oh,
so was
was it?
yours. I mean, maybe I didn't capture it in my phone when I did the video, but
Yeah, I didn't see
just
mine.
assumed you were part of it. Yeah, and I assumed
I
Lauren was
didn't
going to be
see
part
it.
of it until we booked the time. Just assumed.
How many more do you need?
Only a few more, like
Okay.
at least for the first set of 25.
Oh yeah, not for the 100, for the 25, right?
Yeah, I'm doing the first 25, and then get kind of everything finished and put together, and then I'll start to work on the next 25.
All right, cool. One step at a time.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything
Thanks,
else you guys want to dig into? I mean, Lauren and Stan, so Joel's going to hop off. Anything else you guys want to talk about what you're working on or any needs that someone can help you with or what are you guys working on? Nothing?
If someone wants to buy a farm in Ocala,
Oh, it's still on the market?
still on the market. Did a couple open houses, and there are some people interested. I think the timing of everything, it's election time and it's the slow season here. So I think probably by November, once the election's over, it'll probably sell.
Yeah,
But
a lot of people are kind of holding off for the election because they're hoping that they have more clarity on interest rates post-election.
yeah, yep,
Definitely. Yeah. It's crazy
exactly.
times out there.
I
Yeah, it
know.
is.
Yeah.
I, stuff I'm working on right now. Not really too much of mine. Like I've got something that's coming down the pipeline, but I'm probably gonna wait a couple months till it develops more before I make any kind of announcements. But besides that, I'm just kind of working more on social media aspects for Airbnb marketing. Just trying to consistently increase the occupancy of this property. So far, like during the busy season, we do well, but we still have the slower seasons like right now. So trying to just find with different ways to market the property and stand out like from the rest of the competition. That's one downside to Airbnb in New Orleans. There is a lot of competition, so you really have to find ways to stand apart from everyone else to get bookings to your spot.
Yeah.
Well, Troy, if you're still here, Stan's another good resource to maybe reach out to. He's looking at dabbling in co-hosting short-term rental type of thing.
Nice.
So Stan might be a great resource to pick his brain also on what kind of
Happy to do that
how
anytime.
he makes his units stand out to the competition.
Oh, trade better. Did they, what was the response? I'm curious what people said
Wait, what was the question for the accountability? Oh,
for the accountability.
I don't know. I just tuned in at the end to make trouble as I usually do.
For me, like my theory on elections, no matter who wins, it's not going to have that drastic effect for the majority of people. Like the
No.
people that were doing well under one party are going to continue doing well under the other party. The people who aren't doing well are going to not do well regardless of who's in charge. Like there's going to be some small differences. Yeah, it's maybe if one person gets in, you'll have to pay a little bit more in taxes. If the other party gets in, maybe you'll have to pay a little bit less in taxes. But overall, it's not going to be a like. I can't see anyone entering the office who's going to have such a life changing like adjustment and miraculously help everyone.
Yeah.
So I just do what I'm doing and let other people worry about politics.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really factor politics into my financial decisions.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, I
what?
do want to say that it's kind of like you do want to pay attention in a
Yeah,
sense, but like you're saying, not base your decisions on it.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's
A good deal should be
Be
a good
aware.
deal
yeah,
regardless of who's in office.
Yeah,
And if it's that tight of a margin, it probably isn't a good deal. Like, if you can't buy it under this interest rate, they're not going to, no matter who's in office, they can't just drastically drop interest rates. That would create a whole frenzy, and that wouldn't be good for anyone over the long run, because that would just create more demand. So
exactly.
yeah, I don't think anything's gonna happen too drastic.
I am paying attention to, especially on the real estate side, what kind of policies do they have right now that can be affecting real estate. One of the policies that I've seen recently that was announced was, I don't think it's going to pass anywhere in the Senate or Congress, but they were talking about a nationwide rental cap. Uh, Personally, I think that's a horrible idea.
I don't see that passing.
Yeah, I
That
don't see it
feels
passing,
like
and I don't think it's going to be a good
un-American.
idea to do anyway.
Yeah.
Like, there's a rental cap in a lot of spots in New York City that hasn't helped them. There's been a rental cap in a lot of spots in California that hasn't helped them.
Well, there's like rent controlled
Yeah,
places with, I used to live in Aspen, and that was very rent controlled. And there was a lottery system for if you live there, but it was like 2 or 3 apartment buildings. The majority of the housing is not rent controlled. And it worked. It was a nice option to have for people who really wanted to live there, because you had to live there for like 5 years in order to even apply. And that was a great option for them. But I can't see a rent control working as like a federal policy.
yeah. I think it's a great, talking point, right? I'm sure every election season it probably comes up. But Hyder also comments, basically he sees higher for longer, or he thinks higher for longer, but the yield curve seems uninverted. Wait, but the yield curve seems to want to uninvert also. Yeah, it's weird out there right now.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to, I don't know, we talked about it a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys shoot, what's her name? She's like on social media and she came out with a book. Kyla Scanlon, I believe. I think she came up with the term vibe session. So it's kind of like what the data is showing, but then what people are feeling out there. So people, they're making the numbers look a certain way. Or, I don't want to say making,
Yeah.
but the data that comes out a lot of times is looking like the economy is fairly strong, but people are feeling it differently, right? Like,
Yeah.
gas prices or cost of goods at the supermarket and things like housing prices, right? So it's a different feel out there.
Hmm.
Um, so I love that vibe session turn, but basically Trey Better said at the accountability group, everyone said, yeah, they're not really basing their decision on who's in office. It's more, if it's a good deal, it's a good deal, and they're going to continue to look. So I think that's why it's good being around different people and this type of community where everyone can kind of make you see your blind spots, but make you realize, like, there's still deals out there, right? But I think people that haven't done anything, they're sitting on the sidelines, right? They're listening to all the doomers out there. But Stan Troy also mentions, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, Instagram is probably the easiest way to reach me. I'm pretty active and responsive on there. It's Stan Gins / photos. Again, I can right here in the chat.
Oh, you got it. If not, I'll just share it. I have all you guys' stuff here to share easily. So here's Stan's thing, his Instagram. But yeah, I mean, this was always fun. Glad to have you back, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I think I don't know, I might take another trip somewhere. I'll be here next Wednesday. Then Wednesday night, I'm flying out to the Bay Area to see my family.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I was thinking, I don't know, I might just get on a flight to Bali and go to Bali for a month.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the places I have on my bucket list. Right now, I'm like focused on getting to Japan and Nepal, but as soon as that trip's done, I'm sure I'll be booking the very next trip.
Well, we'll have to trade like travel tips because my next one is Japan. I want to go to Japan
Ooh.
in the winter. I want to do a ski trip to Japan.
Okay.
Do the onsens and have like the winter vibe.
Right now, I'm just doing about 2.5 days. It's going to be all in Tokyo. I found one private tour guide that's going to have like a private van that's going to take me to Mount Fuji and then the areas around Mount Fuji. And then the second day, I'm still trying to find either a tour that goes specifically around like the different places of Tokyo, like the temples they have there. But I also want to go to a food tour to see the kind of different street food that they have in Shibuya. And then the other neighborhood I really want to check out is Akihabara. It's like the anime mecca of the world, where it's just giant department stores and shops filled with anime and video games.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. I've heard just like such good things about Japan, like the culture. It's so fun. Yeah. I'm excited.
Same here. I'm excited.
You non-kids or whatever, just
Non-kid having adults.
yeah.
I've got a kid.
Huh?
I've got a 3-year-old.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh,
Yeah, Low Scan Jr.
So he travels with you all the time?
Internationally, not yet. Gonna wait for until he's a little older to start taking him on international trips. But we did take him up to Philadelphia a couple weeks ago to see our family. We're probably gonna head over to some beaches over in Florida next weekend. So gonna bring him over there.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I don't have kids, so I can leave for a month and nobody cares.
All right. Well, this was a fun one. It's always good to catch up with you folks. Yeah. And then last thing, I guess, yeah, Trey Better just says agreed, Hyder. Real estate is the bread and butter for a lot of government members. So better stay in their lane.
Yeah.
All right. So I know a young family. Okay, now we're getting questions.
This has
I
turned
know,
into a
young.
travel channel.
I know. Hey,
I can
whatever,
talk
man.
about
Whatever.
travel nonstop.
Yeah. Trade Better says make sure you buy discount game systems.
That's what I'll be looking at in Akibara.
Ah. And then next time North Island in Japan, Trade Better says.
Okay.
It's for this trip, most of the time I'm gonna be spending it in Nepal. Like Japan's only gonna be 2.5 days, but then I've got close to 10 or 11 days in Nepal. I found one hiking trail called the Annapurna Trek. So that's a 8-day trail. So I'll be doing that 8-day trail. It's going through one of the main valleys of the Himalayas. And then I've got a helicopter ride. I'm going to take over to Mount Everest and check that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Epic.
Well, that's where Mikey Buzztune is probably. I mean, that's where his girlfriend lives in Japan.
Nepal?
So no. I mean, in
Oh,
Japan though.
okay. Oh, nice.
So that I mean, he's probably that's kind of where his financial freedom numbers are coming from, like the cost
Okay.
of living there, and so he's basing it kind of on her lifestyle and what it costs to live there. So he doesn't think he's very far away because it's so much cheaper to live there, or especially or where she's living in Japan, I guess, in a sense.
I know there's a lot of really nice places I really want to check out in Southeast Asia. Bali's one of them, also Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines. It's very, very, very low cost of living over there. So that's a huge advantage. You can show up and it's cheaper to go to areas like that. Yeah, you have the plane ticket, which is going to cost a lot of money for a plane ticket to go over there. But once you get there, it's the same lessons I learned in Peru. Like just having the dollar makes everything so much more affordable that the entire trip winds up being cheaper than going to Florida. Like if you go to Florida for a week, like I was looking at hotel prices for next weekend, like small town Destin, Florida, like the bare basic hotels are $150, $250 per night. And that's nothing fancy. That's just like the bare basic packages for hotels. Meanwhile, down in Cusco, I was staying in a converted governor's mansion in one of their very nice suites, and it was $80 a night. So it's like that giant cost of living, and it really makes the entire trip far more affordable once you overcome that plane ticket.
Yeah. Yep. That's why I'm going for a month. The longer you stay, the cheaper that plane ticket becomes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily find a good spot in Bali, like a high-end resort, and you can rent it out for $500 for a month, maybe $1,000 on the high end for a month. So compare that to anywhere in the United States where $500 a month is not going to get you anything too nice. Over there, you're at a tropical resort with a pool right on the beach.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And then I guess Hyder says, I just realized I have only spent 2 summers with my son and none with my daughter. They're the best with few complaints. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for doing this, you folks, and we'll
Thanks for
get
having me.
something set up. Yeah, man, we'll do this all the time.